Hello and welcome to Getting to Good Enough, a podcast to help you let go of perfectionism so you can do more of what you love. I'm Shannon Wilkinson. I'm a life coach in Portland, Oregon. I'm a recovering perfectionist who's getting better at good enough.
And I'm Janine Adams. I'm a certified professional organizer in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm lucky enough to be naturally good at good enough.
And today we're talking about dealing with imperfectionists. Hey, Janine.
Hey, Shannon. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, too. We had a birthday over the weekend, my husband's birthday, so that's always nice. So I'm riding the high from that.
Oh, that's excellent.
We like birthdays at our house.
Yeah. Did Bix get Barry a good gift? He usually does.
Mm-hmm. We got him a toy from BarkBox and
wow.
And some hand-baked treats from Four Muddy Paws, where we buy dog food. So he believes in giving a gift you want to receive.
Yes, and I remember in the past, Barry has texted me photos of the sticks that Bix has given him.
Oh, my God.
Or was that Kirby?
That was Kramer. It was Kramer who gave me a big box of sticks. Yeah. It was so impressive because they were all the same length. They were curated. It was a curated. They'd been collecting them for months, I think, and hiding them in the bushes. And they were in a beautiful box that gift wrap had come in, like from a school sale. You know, they come in those gold boxes.
Oh, right.
I opened it up, and it was a big box of sticks. Kramer was so excited.
I love that your poodles give you gifts that they would like to receive themselves.
Yeah, it really makes it fun for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's all about, and he's right in there when we open up presents.
Yeah, Cleo started that this year with Mike. And gave him a bag of trout-flavored treats.
Delicious. That's excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, today we I'm first of all, I have to say I'm impressed with myself that I was able to say now I can't say it. Imperfectionists the first time without stumbling over it.
You did a very nice job of it. That's not an easy word.
No, but that's the word that we are using for people who are more naturally good at good enough, and people that tend to be satisficers relative to what we talked about last week with good enough decision making. And we are talking about this specifically because we heard from a listener, Tammy, who asked us for advice on a conflict that she's having with her neighbor. And Tammy identifies as more of a maximizer when it comes to decision making and a tendency towards perfectionism. And apparently her neighbor does not. And her neighbor makes decisions more quickly than she does and doesn't have the same financial situation. And then Tammy doesn't feel the same level of urgency that her neighbor feels. So she's feeling a little anxious that the fence that is falling down between their properties is going to get replaced more quickly and more expensively than she would like.
Right. She doesn't, she shared that it's not that she wants the very best fence. She wants a reasonably priced fence. And that requires research.
Right. And so she wants to maximize the decision in financial terms and get the best fence she can for a reasonable price. And it seems that her neighbor is more inclined to get a couple of bids and just pick a fence and get it done.
Right. I'm her neighbor, so I can totally understand. Let's just get it done. But it's a valid concern, and I appreciate Tammy bringing it up because it's an interesting question, I think.
It is, and we had a situation where we had to have a tree taken out and a fence replaced in between us and a neighbor, and I thought of it because our neighbor, it was a similar situation. She's in a different financial position. She had a budget for what she could spend, and she gave us parameters up front. Like, this is what I can spend. This is what's important to me. And if you want me to do research, I'm happy to do it. And if you want to take care of it, then I'm happy to pay you what I can afford, which is this. And so then that freed us up to take care of the fence and some other things. But, we paid more because we wanted more done. And she, we're both happy with the fence, and it all worked out great. And that process that she did of sort of thinking through what was important to her and giving us those boundaries really made a huge difference. It could have been a big nightmare if we didn't realize what was going on, if she just sort of went along with it and then resented us.
Right.
And we didn't know why.
Right. I mean, it really is sort of fraught, right? I mean, handled with less openness and less communication, it could be the kind of deal where you get, you're glad you have a fence because you're
right.
so annoyed with your neighbor. But yeah, I love that she knew what she wanted. She knew what she could afford. She knew it was important to her, what she could afford. And she communicated it with you.
Right.
Which really freed you up, right? I mean, if she hadn't communicated that budget, that would have just added a whole layer of stress to everything, and probably lots of back and forth.
Right. And it made it so much simpler. And it was a bit of a complex process getting that tree taken out, and it just made it easier. Well, I would just encourage Tammy to, I know that the financial piece is important to her. And so I think it would be useful for Tammy to think through what really matters to her and take the top couple of things and write them down, and then either, go talk to her neighbor or, drop off a note if she's more comfortable doing that, and just saying, that this is what I can afford. I'm happy to get more bids if none of the bids that you've received meet those financial guidelines, or perhaps her neighbor cares enough about getting it done quickly that she'd be willing to pay more to do that.
Yeah, pay more than half. To get it done. Right. I was just going to say it does boil down to knowing what's important to you in a scenario like this, because it is a bit of a negotiation, and you go into it knowing what matters to you, and especially something like a fence, because there are lots of different choices when it comes to fences.
Well, that just reminded me, I've forgotten about this, that at another place I used to live, the people wanted to replace the fence, and the fence was perfectly fine. They just wanted something more aesthetically pleasing and wanted to take out the existing fence and replace it. And they told me about their elaborate fence plans and what they thought it would cost, and wanted to know that, just to make sure that I would be willing to pay half of it. And I said, no. They're like, what do you mean no? I said, I'm perfectly happy with the existing fence. If you want to replace the fence, that's fine, but I have no interest in replacing the fence, and it's a perfectly fine fence. Like, I'm not willing to pay half of a fence I'm not willing to pay thousands and thousands of dollars because you want to beautify your backyard.
Right. And what'd they do?
They rebuilt the fence, but they did it much less expensively.
Right.
But I also told them that I had recently had the property surveyed, and I said, if you replace the fence, it has to be built entirely on your side of the property line. Like the current fence was built in the middle of the property line.
Oh, uh-huh.
And I said, if you replace the fence and you're paying for the whole fence needs to be on your side of the property line. And I think they thought I was being a little bit grumpy with that.
Well,
but they're paying for it. It needs to be on their side because I'm not going to be responsible for upkeep of it if they, want to spend that much money on a fence.
Right. And plus, it's their fence, so it should be on their property. It becomes their fence instead of a shared fence.
Right. And so I happened to be there when the fence builder was there and putting in the fence posts, and all the fence posts were on my side, not even in the middle, but on my side of the property line. And so I told the guy, I said, you need to stop immediately. And because this isn't right, it needs to be on the posts need to be lined up on the other side of this line here. And they were not happy with me, but they fixed it and
was it the
took care of it.
neighbors who were unhappy, or the fence builders who were unhappy?
Everybody was unhappy.
Everybody, nobody was happy.
Because they had just set all of these posts in concrete.
Oh, they're already in concrete. Oh no! Oh my gosh! Good for you. Was it hard for you to confront them about that, or to take that on?
It wasn't, because I had already been very clear about what my expectations were.
Right.
And, it's like, if you want to replace the fence, these are the parameters under which you can replace the fence. And had the fence been falling down, I would have been more than happy to pay half the fence, and we would have put it on the property line. It's not like I'm an unreasonable person. It's just, I'm not going to pay for, they wanted to do some weird bamboo, it's just this whole thing.
Right.
But so I didn't, it was not hard for me to stick with the boundaries that I had already set.
Right. That's the key. I mean, that's so reinforcing of what we just said a few minutes ago, which was, know what you want and communicate it well.
Right.
And those boundaries are so important, because if you had been wishy-washy, or if there were any wiggle room in the communication, then taking out the concrete would have been a bigger point of contention. I mean, they had no choice because somebody just messed up. Do you think they were trying to get more of your property, or was it unintentional?
I think it was purposeful. I think they thought that they could just put it in and then it would be done, and then, I'd have to live with it.
They underestimated you, didn't they?
They did. They did not know who they were dealing with, because I seemed so pleasant.
Right.
I seemed like such a nice person.
Right. Yeah.
But, it was sort of shocking, because in the process they had done all of this crazy stuff in their backyard, and I let them use my property to bring a backhoe in to remove an in-ground pool, and it's not like I have been a pain in the butt neighbor. It just, I don't know, it was just interesting how it all sort of panned out. But like you said, it totally reinforces, the more clear you can be up front, the easier it is to manage things. And they sort of knew, they were irritated with me, but they knew they didn't have a leg to stand on. That was the agreement. And, that was the reasonable thing to do.
Right.
I think that they were just sort of it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Even though they had expressly not been given permission.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, not just not asking for it, right? But yeah, that's very interesting. And I really think that when it comes to any relationships, neighbors, spouses, children, whatever, clear communication and open communication is so important to deal with these kinds of, what's the word? I want to say incongruencies, but that doesn't seem quite right. But whenever you have people who have different sensibilities, it's hard. You know, I'm an imperfectionist married to a perfectionist. It's all about compromise, or sometimes it's just about letting him do everything, which is fine.
Yeah.
But
right.
Yeah. So, but open, and not harboring resentment, because people are just wired differently, I think, or they're just in a different part of their journey.
Right. And it is important to sort of know what's important to you and to know that you're not going to get everything. Like, you can't expect that someone is going to, whether they're a perfectionist or not, they're not likely to want things exactly the same way you do. And so to think about, the couple of things that feel like deal breakers to you. Like, what is the most important thing here? Like, if we are talking about Tammy's fence, like, the most important thing probably to her is that she not exceed her budget. And if she can meet that, then she's probably fine. But, if whatever those parameters are, to figure those out up front, it's so much easier to do it up front than to, have someone come to you and be like, oh, here's, what it costs to get the fence built. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's like 10 times more than I can pay.
Right. And that's an uncomfortable conversation. So bypass that by just being open and upfront.
Right. And I think sometimes if you have a hard time expressing yourself, that it does help to write things down. Although I also encourage people to not hide behind a piece of paper and to have a conversation with someone whenever possible. To be able to do both of those things.
Yeah, it's reminding me of a time that a landlord who lived upstairs, we lived downstairs. No, the other way around. We lived upstairs. She was our landlord. She bought the house and mailed us a handwritten letter through the postal service saying we had to move out. It was an eviction notice, so we had to move out in 2 months or whatever, something. But it was like, really? Really? You've never met us. You live in the same house. And you didn't want to have a conversation about it?
Yeah, that's absurd. But also legally,
it should be in
like
writing.
She has to give it and it has to go through the postal service.
Oh, it does?
Like, there's rules about how you can legally give notice.
Oh, I never, when I was a landlord, I didn't know about that. I certainly never mailed anything to my tenants.
It depends on the jurisdiction. The state, city, county may have different rules. And but now also, like, when I have tenants sign a lease, they also sign that they are willing to get notice via email or text. And then they provide their email addresses and phone numbers for that. So that then becomes legally sufficient for giving them notice.
Gotcha. Well, for more than 30 years, I've been resenting this poor landlady for
well, she still could have said something.
Yeah,
she could have introduced herself. Usually what I do is have a conversation and then, mail the legal notice.
Right, yeah.
For whatever it is that, we have to mail it for.
I think she was just afraid that we were going to be mean.
Probably because
she didn't know us.
Because you're horrible. I've seen you. You're scary.
Very, very scary. I don't think she'd ever even seen us. But yeah, I'm very scary.
Yeah. But so, I think the thing with dealing with if you're a perfectionist and you're dealing with an imperfectionist, or even, if it's people that both have tendencies toward perfectionism, is to just get really clear on what's important to you and share that up front. And know that you're not going to be able to have everything that you want. Like, there will need to be some compromise. And the other thing that I thought of when you were talking about being married to a perfectionist when you aren't a perfectionist is the idea of, would you rather be right or happy?
Oh, right.
And yeah. And so I think a lot of times, particularly if you're on the side of perfectionism, keeping that in mind, that sometimes it's nicer to be happy than to be right and to let some things go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anything else you have to say about dealing with imperfectionists?
No, I guess not. I feel like we have a clear message here.
Yeah, I think so. I think at some point you said something about kindness, and I think that's a good thing to remember.
It doesn't have to be confrontational. It can be, just remembering to be kind goes a long way, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And also I think about it as how can you both get your needs met? And, finding out, when you figure out what's most important for you, finding out what's most important for the other person in a situation like this is really useful.
That's where conversation can come in. That's another reason to have a conversation rather than a note.
Right. And even, framing your note from that regard of kindness and, hey, I know we're in different situations. This is where I'm at. Where are you at? As opposed to a list of demands.
Right.
Yeah. Well, so Tammy, we hope that this is helpful for you in your specific situation. And we hope that it's helpful for all of our listeners, generally speaking, when you're dealing with someone that is a different level of perfection or imperfection than you are. Let us know. You can leave a voicemail at 413-424-GTGE. That's 4843. You can email us at hello@gettingtogoodenough.com, or find us on social media, Facebook and Instagram. We're Getting to Good Enough. And on Twitter, we're at GTG Enough. And of course, we're always online at our website, gettingtogoodenough.com, where you can comment on the show notes for today's episode. But for now, this is Shannon Wilkinson in Portland, Oregon.
And Janine Adams in St. Louis, Missouri.
And we hope that good enough is getting easier for you. I think we've sort of figured out the whole being imperfectionist, perfectionist together.
Yeah, that's true. We do okay.